Good morning and welcome to our devotions for the week of the 7th Sunday after the Epiphany. It is a pleasure as usual to greet you at the beginning of this new week and to trust that you've had an enjoyable weekend. Today our children and some of our young people are going back to school, and we want to bring them all before Almighty God, including their teachers, auxiliary staff, head teachers, principals, as we know that this has been a real challenging time for them especially. We know that there are many children whose attention span is not where it needs to be, and the methodology that we have been having to use over the past months has not been in their best interests. Many of them probably will lose a great deal of their developmental time that they may not be able to recapture. But we want to pray for them, and we want to pray for the teachers that they may have the patience and the skills necessary to do all in their power to assist our young people. We don't really want down the road some 15-20 years or so to see develop in our society some negative behavior or things of that nature, and then be able to look back and say, well, you know something, these are those kids that would have been at a very tender age when that pandemic struck. We don't want to be able to do that. We don't want to be able to have that as part of our legacy. So let's see what we can do, everyone. And it's not time for us to point fingers or be angry or annoyed. If we are that concerned about our children, then that must be our chief priority. And if that is our chief priority, then we need to do everything that we can possibly do to assist our children in catching up, in reclaiming what they might have lost during that period. So friends, as we go into our meditation today, I just want us to take in our hearts our little ones, the ones who will be responsible for our republic in a few years. Those are the ones that we're going to place our whole country in their hands, and we're going to be expecting that they will do a good job. But it is now, it is here that it all begins. And so I ask you to just allow your heart to be filled with love for all of those who will be re-entering our institutions today, our educational institutions. So let's hold them in our hearts. And especially if they're persons that you actually know, allow it to be solidified in a sense by bringing their faces into the midst of your heart. And not praying only for them, but using them as your avenue to connect with the wider body of children. So we take a few deep breaths to bring ourselves into a heart space. And we come into that place of presence, the present moment. We let go of everything else, and we just come into that particular moment, this moment that we are in. And we do so with a spirit of gratitude and love and compassion. We fill our hearts with compassion. We allow any negative energies in our hearts, any disappointments, any disagreement, anything that's not in keeping with that whole divine presence. We ask that it will be removed, and that our hearts may only be filled with that which is beautiful, that which is of peace, that which is of God. And you breathe into that space As you sit, just feel yourself being upheld by your chair or your bed. Feel your feet on the floor. Just have that sense of that tremendous support that is given to you in this moment. And know too that on every side you are supported. You are being supported. Know that there are those who are around us. We may not see them, but they're there. And they too are offering us words of wisdom, guidance. But I believe what makes it easier for them to get through to us is when our hearts are open. When we rest in our hearts and not in our minds, debating and quarreling and arguing and finding assigning blame, etc. The things that we do in our heads. But when we are in our hearts, I believe those who have been sent to us have greater chance of getting their message through. Because in our hearts we are in a more susceptible place. We are more open to receive. So we open ourselves today to receive. And during the course of this day, may we find opportunity to just receive, to listen, and to follow. To see where we are being led. Ah, my Lord, how can we thank you for all that we are? What can we give to you? What can we say to you? We may offer ourselves completely in full surrender. Accept our gift, dear Lord, of ourselves, knowing that it is all that we have. We trust you as the one who has called us into being and have kept us each and every moment of each day. Keep us ever aware of this knowing and assist us in living into this knowing through this life and the life to come. You, Lord, are our hope and our joy. Amen. We turn our attention now to our reading for today, coming from the Gospel according to John, the 11th chapter, reading verse 17 to 29. When Jesus arrived, he found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb 4 days. Now Bethany was near Jerusalem, some 2 miles away, and many of the Jews had come to Martha and Mary to console them about their brother. When Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went and met him, while Mary stayed at home. Martha said to Jesus, "Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died." But even now I know that God will give you whatever you ask. Jesus said to her, your brother will rise again. Martha said to him, I know that he will rise again in the resurrection on the last day. Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. Those who believe in me, even though they die, will live. And everyone who lives and believes in me will never die. Do you believe this? She said to him, yes, Lord. I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, the one coming into the world. When she had said this, she went back and called her sister Mary and told her privately, the teacher is here and is calling for you. And when she heard it, she got up quickly and went to him. The word of the Lord.
My will give my life
The story of the death of Lazarus, and Jesus is coming to the family, and the song we just heard rendered, I the Lord of sea and sky, I have heard my people cry. And then it ends where the verse says, I will hold my people in my heart. If you take this episode in Jesus' life and you take this hymn and you put it all together, there's a beautiful thing that happens. And in a sense it is almost too beautiful for words. And I hesitate because, you have that sense at times where words would not do an idea justice. But you get the sense that for Jesus to do what Jesus had to do, there was a certain degree of divine love, selflessness, care. It's like you don't get those jobs just by wishing. You don't get those jobs because you put your hand up. And it reminds me of James and John when in that episode when they were asking to sit at Jesus' right and left hand in his kingdom. And you get the sense that yes, these things sound nice. And it's not even about how challenging it is. And so I don't want to look at it from the perspective of the challenges, but I want to look at it from the disposition. What kind of person can be the one that says, here I am. Here I am. Send me. In this passage just read, you could hear the depth of love in the engagement between Jesus and Martha. It was not about doctrine. It's not about the doctrine of the resurrection. It was about divine love. It was someone who loved her and Lazarus and Mary coming into a moment where there was tremendous sadness. And there he was holding them all in his heart. Holding all three of them in his heart. And seeking to assist them in understanding that this is not the end. Not now. It is this divine love that is represented so beautifully in Jesus. And at times, I know we accept it, but I think at times we also belittle it and not really recognize that it is the essence of who Jesus is. And it is the essence of who you and I are. But there is so much that we have to wade through to get to this. But it is there. It is covered down. It is hindered. But it is there. You can't listen to a story like this one this morning, and no doubt it will continue for the next few days. You can't listen to a story unfold like this and not experience the depth of love that is being embodied in these words. And with the experience of the depth of love that is embodied in these words, to rise up a little bit more from our own place. Our own place where our love is so buttoned down, so restricted, so hindered, so conditional, so transactional. And to recognize that if this is what we've learned love is, to be able to understand that we learned it wrong. Or if we don't want to say we learned it wrong, let's say that what we learned was what others had come to know. And that's as far as they got. And they gave us what they got. But it is not for us to stop there. It's for us to go further. One of the downsides of religious traditions, and I guess I say this oftentimes, and it is because I believe it, and I'm deeply hurt by it, and we see it through the centuries. One of the downsides of religious groupings is the inability to receive that which is beyond what was previously received. And we saw how what we call martyrs today, many of those martyrs weren't killed by non-Christians. Many of those martyrs were killed by Christians in the name of Christ. And then later recanted and declared them saints. And there are many who were martyred, whom the church to this day have not claimed. They branded them heretics and they got rid of them. They labeled them witches and they burnt them. Where in the message of divine love is that found? Where in that heart filled with love is it found the burning of so-called heretics and so-called witches, many of whom were in nowhere near having any kind of witch activity? Where is the heart filled with love able to carry that vengeance and that hatred? Only because we dare go beyond what has been accepted, what has been agreed upon. And it is sad because if we were to use that rule and really use it, then Christianity wouldn't exist. Because Christianity is based on the fact that someone went beyond the religious tradition of the day and introduced something more. But we get around that by saying that in Jesus was the final revelation of God. So nothing more comes after Jesus. And that's how we're able to gain control. Just like the way that the religious orders of old said, well, Moses said and the prophets said, they were grounded in the prophets, and there was to be nothing beyond the prophets. Even though they were looking for so-called Messiah, it was to happen within the context of what Moses said and what the prophets said. This is the same thing we're doing. And God is forever revealing God's self in new ways. So that even in science and technology, God is revealing God's self. And the scientists and technicians and those who are in that field, and even the ones who don't necessarily believe in God, are accepting the messages and the ideas and the inspiration and the divine guidance and run with it. A heart full of love is the only requirement. And so we must free our hearts from what restricts it, what causes it to be small, what causes it to not allow love to reign in the fullness. I will hold my people in my heart. Friends, let's join together. And let's intentionally try to hold people in our hearts. Let's look at the example of Jesus and not just talk about it, but let's try to live it. Let's try to embrace what Jesus taught. And let's try to be open and see what God is doing and join in. And not pretend that we know what God is doing. But we don't. But we can discover what God is doing if we become more open to God's ways, which are ways of love and compassion. So as we go into this new week, let's listen to these episodes, especially over these next few days, as they relate to Martha, Mary, Lazarus, and Jesus. See the unfolding depth of love, and see the kind of individual that God needs in God's world to bring about God's purpose. It's not superhuman. It's all within us. But it is more about our ability to let go of various aspects of ourselves that no longer serve the purpose that we have used them to serve. For if we are going to go higher, we need new engagement, new tools, new understanding. I, the Lord of sea and sky, I have heard my people cry. Here I am, Lord. It is I, Lord. I have heard you calling in the night. I will go, Lord, if you need me. I will hold your people in my heart.
There's no place to hide.